Welcome to the Invisible India podcast. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Abhishek. We are a cross-cultural couple doing life in India, exploring the lesser-known mysteries of Indian culture,
Interviewing fascinating figures who have chartered new territories, and sharing life as we raise our multicultural family amongst the complexities of modern Indian life.
Hi, this is Abhishek, and this week we're talking about real India.
Yes, you've seen bucket lists floating around the internet, what India is like, or places you need to visit in India, and we're offering you something a little more robust. What's the real India like? What are things that you have to experience if you're actually going to experience the real India? So we are talking today about the real India experiences. And we've created a little bucket list that you can share with your friends and you can check off and send to us. And we want to see who has all of these items, who has the most items. And we would love to see who's the craziest person out there. We have an infographic on all of our social media pages. You can connect with us there and share your list. So, starting it off with number 1, real India experience. Had malaria, chikungunya, dengue, or dengue, as they also say here, or any other mosquito-borne diseases. Have you? Have you had any of these? I haven't. Thank God. This is probably one of the worst ones on here.
I've not had any of these, but we have had friends who have had them.
Oh, yeah.
Foreigner friends who have had them, Indian friends and foreign expat friends. It's pretty terrible. Sometimes it is. My mom had malaria a long time ago.
I think your mom's had all of these.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, not all of them, but she's had at least one, which is bad enough. Way to prevent this is just mosquito net. Mostly, most people sleep with mosquito net. Number 2, slipped in cow poo.
I'm pretty sure I've done that, but I don't remember right now.
Can you?
Or my bike has fallen in.
Your bike. That's even more fun when you crash on a motorcycle in cow poop.
Yeah, that's probably happened. More often in the mud here, but yeah, I'm sure cow poop has been involved.
I'm pretty sure that you can't actually go to India without stepping in cow poop. If you have been to India and you haven't stepped in cow poop, I'm pretty sure that you have been in a hotel the whole time or in an office the whole time.
It's only natural because cows are on the roads, so and streets are kind of narrow. And
number 3, hit a pedestrian with bicycle, car, scooter, etc. Well, I haven't actually hit any pedestrians with any of those things.
Almost every week I hit people.
But other people in cars and on motorcycle and stuff, right? Have you actually hit a pedestrian recently?
I don't know what that even means. Hit
someone
a pedestrian.
Walking.
You brush off especially your mirror. Your side view mirrors usually touch walking people or people who are on the bicycle. Yeah, I mean, Indian roads are very different where everybody has to walk in the same way. The bicycle doesn't have any separate lane. Motorcycle, bicycles, pedestrians, cars, they're all walking in the same street. There's no separate anything for that. So I think every month, at least on a monthly basis, I think I hit people. It's just that most people wouldn't say anything to you if your car hits them on their shoulders or pushes them a slight bit.
Slightly different standard here than other places. The car just brushed against my shoulder, no big deal. People would be like calling the cops in Western country if you did that.
Yeah, but on the highway, of course, you cannot because you're traveling a lot faster, or even like on a larger roads. But in the gullies or in the little lanes, I wouldn't say it's that far-fetched.
It's still one that probably most people can check off.
The other day, the motorcycle hit our mirror, our side view mirror on driver's side, and it broke it. And the guy stopped for 2 minutes and then he kept going. Like he just apologized and then tried to blame me. And then people tried to break our conversation, just say, oh, it's all right, just keep going. And that's just what happens here. People don't want to have a fight. Usually you never claim the other person's insurance because there's no police involved. So basically, you have to pay for your own your car and motorcycle from your own insurance, not from the other person's insurance. So anyway, so that's pretty common. Again, in other parts of India, it'll be different. It's not the same everywhere. The laws are applied differently by different states because some states are a bit more stickler, other states are not. So, yeah, hard to tell, hard to say.
Speaking of fights, so that brings us to number 4. Gotten into a fight with an auto wala or taxi wala. This was actually inspired by one of our friends that actually almost got into a fist fight with an auto wala. I mean, I feel like there's verbal fights that happen all the time. Like pretty much, I mean, you see it all the time. People like, oh, you're charging too much or whatever. Now with Ola and Uber, kind of makes it less negotiable of the rates, but this happens all the time. So check mark for yourself if you...
Yeah, autos just went recently on Ola and Uber, but they are not very plentiful. It's harder to find auto on Uber. Auto rickshaws on Uber.
Number 5, received prasad. What's prasad, honey? Can you explain?
It's just blessing food that's given as blessing to people after a ceremony or rite is performed in front of a deity in Hindu families. And only Hindus use that word, prasad.
Prasad. So if you've gotten prasad, make a check mark for yourself. Yeah, if you're going to have relationships with
maybe
Indians,
Buddhists use it, I don't know.
Yeah, then prasad is part of the deal. Number 6, vomited on a train.
I don't know.
I
on my
personally.
Stuff. I've had people vomit on our stuff.
Yes, we have. Yes.
But not vomit on me.
We haven't done it ourselves. I think our kids have done it, but oh man, we've seen a lot of people get sick on the train. There was one time that there was this traveler. I think she was an Israeli girl, and we were traveling as a family, and she came up to me. She's like, hey, I want to ask you some questions. And so she was just talking about where she was going. It was an overnight train, and she's like, oh, is this safe to eat? Is that safe to eat? And I said, well, I mean, none of it's really safe to eat, but this would be the safest thing to eat, I guess, like a fried or like a hot thing with no water and no... anytime you're traveling in India or having outside food, you don't want to eat anything that's too watery or it's supposed to be cold or kept in fridge. So I told samosa might be okay. Well, it wasn't. She got quite sick, and I was keeping an eye on her all night because she was really sick on the train. Poor thing. So it didn't happen to me, but I've seen it plenty of times. Number 7, taking a bucket bath with cold water. This should be one that most people can check off. If you haven't lived, if you haven't done this.
Most places, like smaller guest houses or people's homes, some people's homes may not have geyser still. So, so you're bound to take a cold bucket water especially if you're trying to go from different places to different places, not staying in hotels and such in India.
Number 8, slept on a roof or choki. You did this the other night. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I'm staying with my friend, and my friend's house doesn't have an AC, so it was quite warm in his house. He suggested that we can sleep on the roof. And usually I've slept on the roof, but usually there are mosquitoes, so you have to sometimes put mosquito net on your cot on the roof. But in this case, because the mosquitoes are less, because it's summertime, so we slept on the roof, my friend and I, and it was great until it started raining. And in the middle of the night, we picked up our mat and we brought everything downstairs, and then we waited for half an hour, and it was still hot downstairs, so we came back up and then spent the rest of our night upstairs on the roof. So basically that was how it was. And I don't know how many people are nowadays sleeping on the roof. It used to be a lot more, but after people have gotten more cushier, and I guess middle class people have AC nowadays, so I guess not a lot of people sleep on the floor. But in the villages and in a more basic amenities house, I'm sure people still sleep in a veranda or a roof or in a place called Angan, which is like the courtyard. It's an open sky, open roof.
Number 9, seen a snake in the wild. I actually don't think I've seen a snake in the wild. I've seen him at parks. I've seen them, mostly in parks. I've seen it and like a ghat where you go for bathing in the river. They were both small. But man, your mom has some good snake stories. She talks about how there used to be huge snakes that like cross the road in front of her. And one time at her like village house, there was a huge snake that was crawling up the stairs of their front entryway. And I mean, when you get outside of major urban India, you're bound to have some good snake stories. Have you seen a lot of snakes in the wild? Yeah, not as many.
There's not a lot of wild left here.
That's a good point. There's not a lot of wild left here.
There's a lot of wild left in India, but not around where the people live.
Yeah. In fact, people are really freaked out by snakes. There are like 50,000 snake bite deaths a year in India, so people are naturally scared.
It's kind of interesting how in America and other countries people have pet snakes, which is unfathomable in India.
Yeah.
Only snake charmers, and that the number of snake charmers have decreased substantially. They're probably like in next 10 or 20 years we'll have like a couple of hundred snake charmers left in India. Many of them are changing their occupation. It's a dying out art. So basically no one is going to have a pet snake in India after 10 years. It's probably all going to go to America. Americans are going to have more pet snakes than Indians.
Number 10, lit firecrackers on Diwali. Yeah. If you've ever been here for Diwali, most people have lit firecrackers. Although it's becoming less popular because the pollution this is one of the major causes of pollution, especially in North India and some of the larger cities. It's so much that the day after Diwali, the pollution index goes way up to the point where even flights are getting canceled because of the smog. I mean, it's really bad. So actually, people are encouraged to not light firecrackers and to celebrate in other ways with more natural substances, like using a clay pot, like a diya, what we call it in Hindi, and enjoying in other ways rather than burning so many fumes and things like that. Number 11, gotten bitten by a street dog or guard dog. Thank God, no, I haven't. But I have one friend who got bit in the face really, really badly. She's an American friend. She could have lost her eye if this dog would have clenched down more. It was quite terrible. So it can happen.
I've been bitten by a stray dog.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Like when you were a kid?
I was like 19.
What happened in that scenario?
Some dog came and bit me from the back on my shin. So yeah, right on the shin. And it was over my pair of jeans. So
did you have to get like rabies shots and stuff?
Yeah,
or no?
Yeah. Like 3 or 5, I don't remember.
It's kind of tricky because we in the West we like love dogs and we want to domesticate all the dogs. But some of these dogs in India they're wild. They're on the street and they they're watching out for their own territory. It's kind of tricky. You want to be afraid of them, but you also want to trust you. And like the other day, one of the dogs had one of our street dogs in our neighborhood had like a piece of metal like stuck on its leg. And I felt so bad for it. It was trying to bite it off. And I saw, man, I can get that off. And I was kind of thinking this is really stupid, but I'm going to try it anyway. So I called it over and it actually came over to me. And I let it sniff my hand, and it recognized me because it knows me from the neighborhood. I was able to get the piece of metal off the dog's leg, and that dog was like licking my hands like crazy, which was funny because usually you're really scared of the guard dogs because they're supposed to be kind of ferocious and nasty. But this dog was like so thankful that I took the.
Is it a guard dog?
It's one of the dogs in our neighborhood.
It's not a guard dog.
No, it's an unofficial guard dog. They live in our colony and they bark every time some new person walks in. But anyway, fortunately I haven't been bitten, but this one case where I buddied up with a dog, I'm not gonna take it like we have a friendship now or anything. I'm still gonna kind of stay away from that. Number 2, slept without AC in the heat of summer. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is like most of India. People mostly sleep without AC. It's becoming more popular now, but I mean 10 years ago I did this all the time and I didn't really feel that hot. I mean, and I feel like I'll die without at least some AC going. Right?
Yeah, at least part of the day.
At least part of
or
the day.
for sleeping at least.
Oh, yeah.
So
Number 13, slept with a lizard in your room. So the thing about Indian lizards is that we call it chipkali here, and they're just like a common house lizard. They stick on your walls, and they eat bugs and other things that, like spiders and bugs that crawl around on the walls, which is pretty prevalent since most houses here aren't like really like airtight. So they come in, they sneak in when you got your windows open, your doors open, and they live in your house. And you shouldn't be bothered by them.
Yep.
Number 14, visited an Indian emergency room.
Like at a hospital?
Yeah, the hospital. I have, but mostly, it was just for our son, and we went to the best hospital in town. So some of the like government hospitals can be pretty scary. I hope that none of you have to ever visit an Indian emergency room or any emergency room.
In smaller villages, there might not be any other option besides going to a government dispensary or something like clinic or something.
Right.
Kind of know your surroundings of how far
That's a good
medical
point.
facilities are.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anywhere you go, you should probably know where's the nearest medical facility, or at least who you should ask and where they can take you if something happens.
Yeah.
Number 15, danced in a barat at an Indian wedding. So explain, what is a barat?
Barat is the procession that groom's relatives and groom has. Usually it's shorter distance, like less than a kilometer, from the place where the groom's guests are staying to the wedding hall. It's the entire guest list from the groom's side usually walks from the place where they're staying to the wedding hall with this like band, with orchestra, band.
I'm sure you've seen it, like the horns and the drums, and it's really fun. It's quite loud, and they block off the streets. But usually it's like the close family and friends, and when they're getting ready to depart for the wedding, they walk down the street, and a lot of times the groom is riding on a white horse. Nowadays also, sometimes they'll ride in a car or on a big truck with the speakers blaring, and people dance down the street, and it's super fun. 16, eaten street food, specifically golgappa or pani puri. Those are the dangerous ones. So if you've done this, good for you, but I'd like to know what's the percentage if you got sick or not. So usually people say those are the not advisable ones to eat. Anything that has like wet or watery.
It's more than a lot of people would not like that food.
That's also
Many
true.
Foreigners will not like that food. I think a lot of people who do end up eating are they're the ones who like budget travelers. They're just trying to eat on the cheap. And then some of them actually like the taste of it. But majority of the people are not. They're just like doing it for the sake of novelty, like just try something new, different. You will not like such sour, spicy, salty taste generally. But yeah, Indians eat it, but even most Indians eat it. Like they usually identify one or two guys on the street that they have gone for years, and they just eat at those places. They don't just like stop anywhere and just start eating. That's like usually very few people do that.
Recipe for disaster.
Usually you go to your guy and eat it because you know that he uses the cleaner water or all that. But there's no like 100% that you will not get sick even then.
Yeah, nowadays they have more like sanitized street food. So it's not really street food, but you can get it at Haldiram or Harilal's or any of that. But it's modified street food. So they've taken street food and they've taken it into a restaurant that you can basically go and order it, and
like
they
fast
use
food.
like filtered.
Indian street food turned into fast food in a restaurant.
Inside a restaurant with AC and filtered water. So if you're going to try it, be somewhat safe. That's a good way to try it at one of the actual like restaurants in AC, and they ask them if they use Bisleri water.
It's not going to be the same experience, but
Nah.
the food is the same.
Right, but they like use gloves, and they rather than like sticking their whole arm inside the water and like dunking it out to give it to you. So
Yeah, and then there are some cleaner street food places on the street.
how do you identify a clean street food place?
You have to research online. If you're going to a new city, if you live in a city, then you already know where those places are by asking the locals. Basically, those places have high turnover rate. Not turnover, but high foot. What do you call it?
Like foot traffic. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a high foot traffic. So basically, what the reason for high foot traffic is because it's a place that has been around for years, and the guy doesn't probably want to lose any business. Plus, he's good enough. That's why people keep coming back. He's like kind of like legendary, iconic street food places in India, Pakistan, other places like that. There are a lot of like iconic street food places that people have gone for years too. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. In our last item, number 17, had something stolen from you by a monkey. This is kind of a scarier experience, and I feel like this is something that you really have to have someone prepare you for. If you're at a temple or any like touristy place where there are a lot of monkeys, you can't like have any food item, otherwise they will try to attack you.
It's mostly religious places.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times, what you see Indian people do is they just like let them take it. First of all, you don't open it in front of them, and you do not give it to your kids, because otherwise your kids are going to get attacked. And monkeys can be really vicious in India.
Yeah.
I was in my apartment, and I was sitting on the balcony, and this big fat monkey came on my balcony. It was like going for my iPod. This is when I had an iPod, so it was like that was when that was like a thing, right? It went for my iPod, and I was really freaked out and wasn't going to give up my iPod so easily. So I like lunged at it and kind of tried to scare it off, and it lunged back at me and showed its teeth, and then I got really scared and fell backwards. So that's probably a stupid way to deal with it. I don't know. Maybe I should just given it the iPod. Probably not. But then I ran inside my house and slammed the door so it couldn't get me. But man, these things can be vicious. These things can be terrifying. I hope you don't get attacked by a monkey.
Yep.
Stay smart. Stay away from them. Don't look them in the eye. No, I'm just kidding.
I think they behave worse when they're in a bigger pack.
Aha, that's a good.
When they know they have like strength. Like one time when we were going in, like it was like a just wilderness in Varanasi, outside of Varanasi. There was just wilderness, and it's not many cars there. There were big groups of monkeys in there, and then some of them were kind of aggressive, and they kind of were in a pack. So I think they were kind of used to being aggressive to the tourists that were traveling by road.
Yeah, for sure. So that's it. So let us know how many items you have completed on the Real India Experiential bucket list, and share it with us. The infographic was designed by my friend Sachin Sharma. You can find our infographic on all of our social media sites. Share it with us. Share it with your friends. Tag your friends and let us know what you think.